My parents and I migrated to the United States on March 26, 1999. I was 10 years old. And I remember asking myself, what was America going to look like when I got here? And there was an image that came to mind. Home Alone. Right? Just makes sense. Right? I remember a young child just having the time of his life. I mean, he was enjoying freedoms, he could eat whatever he wanted, and I just thought, yes, America's gonna look just like that. No. Just like the movie, the challenges were inevitable. And slowly but surely, the newness and excitement of being in a new country started to fade away. When people would ask, well, why did you guys migrate to the United States? I remember what our father always told us. Our father said, your siblings and I came to this country because I wanted you guys to have a better education. My mom and dad always instilled in us the importance of having an education because they said it would help to create better opportunities for us. It would be the key to creating a life that they wanted to provide for us, but yet struggled to do so. My parents were college graduates. My dad, a retired military veteran. But yet, in America, their accolades or degrees weren't accepted. My mom will work at a supermarket, at Publix specifically, where shopping is a pleasure. My dad will work in security and later in distributing newspapers. They would pick up jobs to help us to get on our feet quickly. During this time, we moved around a lot, from living with my uncle, to living in a motel, to living in an apartment. The list goes on. But during that time, I remember being scared in going to school because I was always afraid of people making fun of me, making fun of the way that I looked, making fun of the way that my hair was braided. It was braided a lot different than what it is now. Making fun of the way that I smelled or the way that I dressed. My family and I couldn't afford the latest clothes or the finest clothes, so we mixed and matched whatever we had at home or whatever was handed down to us. On this particular day, I remember being afraid, always afraid to walk in the cafeteria because I didn't want all those eyes on me. But this morning, I had found a friend to walk to breakfast with. But I knew that the outfit that I had on that day was going to invite people to call me out. And in fact, they did. I had a red sleeveless top, red shorts that stopped right above my knee, and I had a pair of Wilson tennis shoes that were white and purple. My dad always took the time to make sure our clothes were washed and ironed. I mean, as a retired military man, those wrinkles stood no chance. But it didn't matter that day that my clothes were ironed or washed. I didn't match. I didn't match most days, in matter of fact. I remember spending middle school pretending to ignore the remarks of my peers. But once I got home, I would cry and I would journal. And I would ask God, why did you bring us to America to suffer? When people would ask us, well, why did you move to Atlanta? The answer was simple. My mom had siblings there. And they would play an instrumental role in helping us to adjust and to adapt to the new country. Our faith community would also be helpful. They would serve as a form of comfort. But I did not realize that what my family craved was a more formal process of us transitioning into the country. See, my story is not the first, neither is it the last. As a matter of fact, the US Census shows, just looking back 50 years, that our foreign-born population has increased significantly. Significantly. Well, what does that mean? Those means new coworkers, new classmates, new businesses, new sports fans. Go Steelers. To bring it closer to home, the US Census also shows that 2/3 of the state have more than 5% of foreign-born populations residing there. That's an incredible number. But the key question is, how are they being welcomed when they arrive? That question makes all the difference. As we start to think through how do we create welcoming environments in our workplaces, in our hospitals, in our businesses, in our schools, it makes the key difference between a shy girl walking to school and being afraid, or a shy girl walking to school being confident because she knows she's going to be embraced when she gets there. Fast forward 20 years and a couple of degrees later, I have the opportunity to work for our current mayor as a special initiatives manager. My role involves managing our Welcome in Pittsburgh initiative, which is our immigrant and refugee inclusion work. With this work, I get the opportunity to partner with incredible community organizations and other diverse stakeholders. And in this role, together, we create programs, we advocate for policies and processes that create more of a welcoming and inclusive environment for our immigrant and refugee population. But I think the interesting thing about this is that I now work in a role that my parents would have appreciated once we first got to America. And I now work in a role that I didn't even know existed until I was given the responsibility to manage it. My role involves me reimagining new possibilities, new norms. How do we create more inclusive and welcoming environments? And I want to encourage and invite you all to imagine with me. Imagine if we designed a program that was meant to actually, when immigrants and refugees are coming to the country, how do they transition their jobs from their home country to their new country? If this program was meant to actually welcome people, their skills and their knowledge, rather than reject them because they don't fit into the current mold. For example, the All for All Coalition is a community organization that we work with here in our region. They hold a local membership to White Tulip Health Foundation. This foundation has a membership in which they help physicians transition their skills into the American system. And I started to think, what does that look like if we had this program for other professions? For engineering, for law, for farming, for mechanics. The difference it would make in the life of those residents, the difference it would make in our country. Imagine if school was not such a scary place for students. Imagine if the schools designed opportunities for peers to actually get to know one another, like at Avonworth Middle School, where they invite immigrant and refugee guests and their service organizations to speak to 8th graders. The 8th graders learn first and second-hand experiences of immigrants and refugees. They get the opportunity to ask questions, and when the program is done, they create a project, a good citizenship guidebook. Once they had the opportunity to actually come and distribute those guidebooks to new American citizens. Now, students are learning that immigrant and refugee neighbors that are coming into their community are not threats or outcasts, but are people with incredible stories. Imagine if teachers got the opportunity to take advantage of the Teen Screen program, a program that they have a collection of documentaries and short films on a variety of topics, including an immigrant and refugee population. The teachers get to have immigrant and refugee guests, and they get to speak and interact with their students. This scenario allows the students to build compassion for somebody else's story. This allows the student to be more welcoming, to create more welcoming environments in the classroom. This also allows for misinformation about immigrants and refugees to be addressed. Imagine if we truly embraced our foreign-born population. Not just expect them to learn English and adapt to the American system, but we really truly told them that your languages and your customs truly matter. Why? Because it's the right thing to do, but also because it's the smart thing to do. According to this data by New American Economy, it shows that immigrants have a spending power of $1.3 trillion, and they paid almost $500 billion in taxes. Bringing it locally, the immigrants have a spending power of over $2 billion. And they pay taxes of over $900 million. Now, immigrants are constantly showing that they are assets and not liabilities. So thank you for imagining with me. But you don't have to imagine some of these programs because some of them already exist. And local government serves as the resource to connect you to those programs. But doing and having this TED Talk and reflecting on my position in the mayor's office has really allowed me to ask myself questions. Did these resources exist when we first moved to the United States? Did this resource exist in other parts of the country? It took a community to help my family and I adjust. And local government and community organizations are a part of that community. Now I'm going to leave you with one question. How are you welcoming your neighbor? Thank you.